Nearly a full 12 months ago I made a prediction video suggesting that Warhammer The Old World may be arriving in 2023. If it's arriving, or at the very least revealed this year, we're very likely to see it in October. The 14th of October to be precise. Let's dig a little deeper. This is Hobby Jackal, and Warhammer The Old World marks the much sought after return of Warhammer Fantasy Battles and the grim and perilous setting of the Warhammer World. Its announcement back in 2019 set the internet aflame with speculation, excitement, and the word bases. It's given me a great excuse to dust off my old minis and revisit the old lore, which I absolutely adore. Now, since the very first announcement back in 2019, things went a little bit quiet and pretty sporadic. So we had updates on maps, concept art, and eventually some more solid details such as a confirmed base size change, reissue of old models, and more recently some resinous full reveals. In this video I'll chat through why I've been heartily pointing at October for the last 6 or so months, and also delve a little into what if this really doesn't pan out, it doesn't arrive in 2023, and that's with a little help of 40k Maestro Chapter Master Valrak. So 12 months ago I highlighted Warhammer's incoming 40th birthday. And back in April I also chatted about the 40th birthday social media campaign they've been doing and its impending finale. The 40 Years of Warhammer campaign started at the beginning of 2023, dropping a nostalgic video into our laps every week, showcasing a key miniature from Warhammer's storied past or present. And as covered miles back, these are due to finish in October. Coincidentally, and the reason for me popping up in your video feed again, Games Workshop have now announced when they are going to be celebrating Warhammer Day in 2023 and when the Warhammer Day preview is going to be. And it's Saturday the 14th of October, which is the Saturday in exactly the same week that those videos cease being published. Almost as if it was planned right from the very start. So Warhammer Day itself was created and launched back in June 2019 as an annual way to get all excited about Games Workshop stuff. The first one launched with a smallish splash, encouraging folk to visit their local G-dubs to pick up some unique merchandise and also order an online-only unique miniature. From 2020 onwards, it's been solidly housed in the month of October, although the actual date changes significantly, presumably at the will of the Chaos Gods. I'm looking at you, Zinch. Since 2019, it's become bigger and bigger year on year, with last year's taking place on the 8th of October 2022, and focusing purely on Warhammer 40k and its 35th birthday. They had Bayar's Revenge as a diorama slash miniature, they had the Imperial Guard army box, they had Kill Team stuff. It was basically a 40k bonanza. And you can see what I'm getting at here. A Warhammer Day and a significant birthday were treated as a big deal. So Games Workshop are skilled at leveraging these dates to create buzz and boost sales. So if Warhammer The Old World is arriving anytime soon, I would sincerely expect and hope that significant reveals would be happening here, with the potential for pre-orders over the Christmas period, kind of in the style of the Middle-earth strategy battle game. So if you don't get an eye on complete reveal of Warhammer The Old World during this preview, well, what then? I'd have to say it's an absolutely massive missed opportunity, for all the various reasons I've covered in this video and previously. A big reveal also makes sense for why they've been so tentative and sort of just drip feeding their reveals so far. I suspect FOMO sales and a limited amount of time to get excited about something and then actually make your purchase is a key driver for Games Workshop sales. And we saw something similar with the Horus Heresy previously, where these dodgy potato can photos of pretty much the whole contents of the box were floating around the internet for quite a while before they actually revealed it, and in a fairly short window gave people the opportunity to order the box. Now, there are two curiosities that are worth touching upon here. And the first curiosity is that they have revealed the 40 Years of Warhammer Day miniature, and it's a squat. A female squat. And seriously, if you ask a Warhammer fan from like 5 years ago how likely either of those two things are, they'd call you a numpty. Which only goes to show how tricky it can be to predict Games Workshop's direction at any one point in time. Now, I don't mind it as a sculpt, I think it's brilliantly done, but given last year's Warhammer Day focus was entirely on 40k, I would have liked to have seen something for fantasy there this time around. And curiosity 2, which is a sizable curiosity, is Valrak. Now, for context, Valrak is a predominantly 40k focused YouTuber, and online is often touted as somebody who gets rumours right. Now, it's worth noting that he shares absolutely loads of rumours, and just so happens that some of those are correct. And he's the first person to admit The rumours he shares are just rumours until they are proven right. Now with that as context, Valrak has shared a rumour about Warhammer The Old World, specifically that due to scheduling issues, it is not going to be arriving this year as anticipated, but instead being pushed back to Q1 in 2024. Now this is entirely plausible, and he does cite Epic as being an example of where this has happened before, and Epic was bouncing around the rumour mill for ages. I even touched upon it on my video like 5 months ago. Before it was officially announced, it was sort of well known. And it does mean that whilst this is clearly an optimal time to reveal the old world and start taking orders, it might not happen. Secondly, he suggests that this release will come in the form of 2 sizable army boxes, one for the Bretonnians and one for the Tomb Kings, each of which will contain a copy of the brand new rulebook. Now, if you push me back a couple of years, I would have discounted this one off the bat, but there are a couple of things that give this some credibility. At Warhammer Fest, it was emphasized that Warhammer The Old World would not be getting a starter box. When questioned further, it was actually sort of backtracked a little bit and clarified that they would not be getting a starter box intended for brand new players, citing the audience for Warhammer The Old World as being veteran tabletop wargamers. They did note that it would have a launch box, or potentially, as we're discussing here, launch boxes. It's also been confirmed in writing that we are seeing the Tomb Kings versus the Bretonnians at launch, and there is precedence, even really recent precedence, of versus meaning both a box where you've got 2 opposing factions in the box, or just 2 factions being released alongside one another, as we've seen for Warcry recently. Additionally, timing-wise, Q1 isn't unfeasible at all, and it's incredibly likely to not be any later than Q1, because as I've mentioned in the videos from way back, we are approaching the launch of Age of Sigmar 4th edition, and if any group of customers is likely to cross over with Warhammer The Old World, it's going to be that one. Perhaps lending slightly less credibility to the rumour is the contents of those boxes. Well, not necessarily less credible, but certainly less exciting for me at least. Valrak describes the Bretonnian boxes containing lots of doubles, so you're getting the double peasant bowman, double men-at-arms, double kit of the knights, 1 set of Pegasus Knights, and then the special character, which I've already covered briefly in a previous video, but we've seen the sprue leaked online, and that's a brand new character, but the rest of it is just old sculpts. Both Valrak and the rumour monger were less familiar with Tomb King, so some of the wording around this release was a little bit odd. However, the expectation is to get skeletons, skeleton archers, skeleton knights, which were assumed to be the snake surfers, chariots, and then the only brand new model, again, being a big character. They describe it as a lich on dragon. Now, there's no part of Tomb King's lore that makes me suspect they will have a dragon in any sense, but it could be a tomb construct as we've seen before. So what does this mean? Well, whilst I like the Bretonnian sculpts for their character and versatility and all little, they've got like a little dog and a snail and stuff on there. The skeleton chariots and the skeleton archers were based around pretty much the first multi-part plastic kit for Warhammer Fantasy in terms of the skeletons. And not only were these old sculpts, but they were just completely out of scale with the rest of the range. Although the artwork that's been released does seem to suggest we might be seeing those very same chariots again, I'd be really surprised if they tried to flog them as part of a box in 2023 or 24. Now, army boxes themselves were a staple of Warhammer Fantasy releases, often containing an alluring, unique sculpt such as a battle standard bearer in the box, and I was never able to afford the damn things, but they looked cool. Regardless of whether this launch is targeting purely veteran players or people that already have an army stashed away in a cupboard somewhere, I still feel it needs a proper launch box, a launch box that contains 2 factions, even if they're smaller, say 500 point elements of those factions. Not to mention a launch box that contains a couple more new things rather than just a character on each side. For the Lord of the Rings release, we got something very much like this. It had new characters on either side, but then it also came with a shed load of brand new scenery. From both a business and a hobby standpoint, I would certainly expect to see some kind of box, whether preceding or following these army boxes, which does contain both factions. It's the way many of us game, whether it's trading the faction we're not interested in or actually completing the set of miniatures so we can have a mate along to actually just play a small game. So what do you think? Is it going to be revealed this year? Do you think I'm just being a complete lemon? Slap your thoughts down in the comments and feel free to subscribe and like if you want to subscribe and if you like this video. Otherwise, yeah, you don't have to. And you can check out my stupid Warhammer The Old World pitch meeting here with authentic Nottingham accents and something else that YouTube thinks you might like here. You go and have a nice day now. Cheers for watching.